I want to head to opposition senior frontbencher Tim Smith in Victoria, in Melbourne right now. We'll get the latest on this unfolding story. Now, Tim Smith, thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Just to recap what Daniel Andrews, the Premier of Victoria, and Brett Sutton said earlier tonight, the return to work schedule has been paused in Melbourne as a result of this particular case in hotel quarantine. Masks are now mandatory indoors. There'll be no impact on the Australian Open. Daniel Andrews has implored Melbournians to not panic, but get tested if you have any symptoms at all, and home visits to be restricted to 15, and testing clinics, the hours will be extended tomorrow. Tim Smith, what did you make of Daniel Andrews' press conference tonight?
Well, Gleeson, good evening, and good evening to all the viewers right around Australia. I thought that was a panic press conference, despite the fact he said, don't panic. Why was he doing a 10:30 p.m. presser with his police minister, his health minister, his chief health officer, his director of testing? That man looked panicked, and as a consequence of him looking panicked, I'm now genuinely concerned, because if he's panicking, it means that he doesn't have any confidence in his public health team, which means, you know, what are we looking at in the next week? Are we looking at another lockdown? I hope to God that we're not. I pray to God that we're not. But
Tim, we might have a listen. Let's have a listen to what he said just earlier, and I'll get you to come back. Just have a listen.
We have to assume that this person has in fact infected others, and it's through that abundance of caution that I'm announcing from 11:59 p.m. tonight, Cabinet has endorsed the advice of the Chief Health Officer to reinstate the Black Rock or New Year's Eve settings, so private gatherings 15 only, masks inside, across all inside, whether it's a private or a public gathering, masks would be worn inside, and also I want to give notice to those employers and employees that we are pausing the scheduled shift to 75% private sector on Monday and 75% public sector on Monday as well.
Tim Smith, you mentioned that Melbournians in particular would be very nervous tonight. What do you base that on?
Well, I base it on past experience. I've seen a number of these press conferences now going back over 6 or 8 months, and we get drip-fed pieces of information. I understand this afternoon the Herald Sun was putting questions to the Premier about this very issue, and yet we didn't get briefed on it until 10:30 tonight, particularly the issue of the Australian Open. What is that going to mean for the Open, with I understand that 600 players and support staff are now in isolation, and particularly if the Australian Open has brought the virus to Melbourne, and that's going to result possibly in another cluster and potentially further restrictions, I think Melbournians are going to be furious. So my message tonight is that of hope. I hope that this is the only case. I hope that the contact traces have improved dramatically since June, where the second wave got completely out of control and we were locked down for 4 months. So I really wish them well, because if they don't get on top of it, we've seen what damage this can do to the economy, and equally, and indeed 801 lives lost.